Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for coming and taking the time. I'm Inspector Jennifer McKinnon of the Major Crimes Division. This morning, I have with me Superintendent of Community Engagement, Bonnie Emerson, Inspector Eric Luke, Commander of the Central District, and Rob McKenzie from Crime Stoppers, he's Chairman of the Board. We are all here to talk to you about the retail theft initiative that is happening in our city moving into the holiday season. From January to August this year, we have seen a 44% increase in retail theft compared to in 2022. This increase is not unique to our city. Cities across Canada and our neighbors south of the border are all experiencing this rising trend in shoplifting incidents. These are not all victimless crimes. We all pay as a community. No one is immune. Businesses large and small are all affected. As are large corporate chains, local franchises, and family-run businesses, costing all of them thousands of dollars. We see our local grassroots businesses closing, impacting our communities, and prices being driven up, further stretching our budgets. What's more concerning is the increase in violence. The day of hiding an item in your jacket or bag and slipping out of the store unnoticed are long gone. We see suspects brazenly enter stores, taking items with no efforts to conceal them, and brandishing a weapon at employees, security, and any customers that are in their way. This has led to innocent people who are just going about their day being assaulted, bear sprayed, and stabbed. Recently, as of last week, a 59-year-old female employee was stabbed in the 500 block of Notre Dame while assisting security with a male suspect who had just shoplifted inside the store. Although she will heal from her injuries, the trauma that she will carry with her will be long and lasting. These events leave employees feeling unsafe in their workplace and fearful to come to work. Everyone should be able to come to work to support their families without fear of being hurt. Customers should be able to shop and not worrying about being assaulted. And businesses, large and small, should be able to thrive within our community. Working with the Retail Council of Canada, the Winnipeg Police Service, partnering with retailers and Crime Stoppers, have launched a retail theft initiative to proactively work together to deter these crimes. This initiative started November 1st. It utilizes data analysis to identify hotspots throughout our city, leading to focused enforcement by our property crimes unit and community support units from all districts. So far, the results of this focused enforcement have been encouraging. Last week alone, while at Polo Park, officers arrested 15 suspects and recovered over $6,000 in stolen property. Prior to that, we were at Kildonan Crossing and arrested 10 individuals, recovering over $2,300 worth of stolen property. A total of 151 individuals have been arrested during the month of November for retail theft-related crimes. Besides the obvious results, this initiative has further bridged communication between our service and the retail community that will be beneficial moving forward long after the holiday season is over. We also recognize, and I think it's important to mention, that issues surrounding retail theft are complex, and we remain committed to working with our community partners and social safety net providers to ensure supports are provided to individuals that may be struggling. I would like at this time to wish everyone goodwill and joy through the upcoming holiday season. For those who are committed to being on Santa Claus's naughty list, I have this warning to you. We will be out there. I won't say when, and I'm not going to say where. But if you're going to shoplift, chances are we'll be there. Thank you. I'd also like to take this time to reach out to the chairman of the board, Rob McKenzie from Crime Stoppers, to say a few words.
Thank you. Winnipeg Crime Stoppers recognizes that retail theft affects us all, and we're prepared to pay up to $2,000 for any information related to retail theft. Anyone coming forward with that information through the program will completely anonymous. No one will ever know it was you. And I would implore anybody that has any information to either contact the Winnipeg Police Service directly, or you can utilize the Winnipeg Crime Stoppers. And if your tip yields results, you could qualify for a cash reward, which would be helpful during this holiday season. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bonnie. I'm the Superintendent of Community Engagement, Bonnie Emerson. Inspector McKinnon touched on that we can't do this alone, and I wanted to come up and just reiterate that the Winnipeg Police Service is also working through our Community Relations Division to partner with community organizations. We know retail theft is a complex problem. There's underlying issues of poverty, food security, and addictions. If there are ways to partner through crime prevention, diversity, or a victim services unit, we are working behind the scenes and open to doing that. But employees and customers should not have to face fear and violence when they're in retail establishments. Violent and aggressive behavior is increasing in intensity and frequency. So we're looking at tackling this on multiple layers in a multidimensional approach. Enforcement is one of the keys, and so is partnerships. So we look forward to continue to working with our community partners and other providers of the social safety net in Canada so that people don't have to resort to this type of behavior. Thank you. I think we're ready to take questions.
I have a quick question for you, Superintendent. Just if you've heard from suspects who've been apprehended who maybe said like this was a crime of necessity to feed their family or something like that, how do you bridge that gap and like try to stop that before it gets to the point where it affects others, business owners, and victims like that?
Right. So couple of different answers to that. A lot of our general patrol members, Inspector Luke is one of the commanders for our downtown uniform response. They're going to calls weekly, if not daily. And when there are times, I think if you go in your archives, you'll see past news releases, one of which was 2 years ago when an 80-year-old woman was shoplifting for food. The general patrol members looked at diverting her, did a collection amongst the shift to support to provide her with food, and connected her to the Bear Clan Patrol, who provided food hampers for her. So this is looking at opportunities for diversion where possible. And when you're looking alternatively, organized crime, we're seeing an increase in the third market sellers. Actually, this is another opportunity to implore citizens when, especially during the holiday season, you're going on social media sites or sites looking at buying any number of retail goods, to really look at where those materials are coming from. And also just to remind people that we do have buy and sell zones in front of each of our 4 district stations, where if you're going to do a purchase, do so safely. So during daylight and in front of the retail buy and sell zones for all Winnipeg Police Service stations.
Of the 151 people who were arrested, do you know of those how many have been connected with sports?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have that information for you this morning.
In terms of violence being experienced during these encounters of victims or shop goers, what kind of recommendations would you have for people who are witnessing these kind of crimes? Should people intervene? Should they let police?
No, I think, and maybe Superintendent Bonnie Emerson probably can speak more to this from the safety planning for community relations, but I would suggest, given the violence that we're seeing, you don't know who's carrying the weapon on them. So Crime Stoppers tagline is see something, say something, and you can report to the police, whether that's making a call in the moment to 911 or if the person is gone and making a report later. I think we have to be careful nowadays. We have to be careful nowadays anywhere we're going. We just don't know what people's intentions are and what weapons they may have on them.
Yeah, so our Community Relations Division through Crime Prevention and our community support units in each of the uniform districts We'll work with retailers for crime prevention, safety information, and tips. The messaging is safety is our foremost concern. So if there's opportunity to, you want to be careful, like Inspector McKinnon said, not to intervene and put yourself in danger. That is our primary concern for citizens.
Just to follow up to that second previous question, the 44% increase year over year for that January, August shoplifting under 5,000. Would you say, the anecdotally maybe, or if you do have numbers, the amount of people, shoplifting out of necessity, you talk about groceries, those sort of things, is that kind of going up at that same rate? Is it increasing amongst that 44%? Are you seeing more people do that?
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say quickly, I haven't seen, but that we do have members working within our restorative justice diversion program, also the YCGA Youth Justice Act. The opportunity for first-time offenders or people who haven't engaged in this behavior repeatedly, diversion is, where appropriate, our first option that we would utilize. So if it was the case that these are crimes of desperation, crimes of poverty, those co-occurring complex issues are a part of it, that would be opportunity where we would divert. And to be quite frank, out of people's privacy, we couldn't be releasing the specifics. The data would be anonymized. And these are, as Inspector McKinnon said at a press conference last week, we can't do this alone. Relying on a community of organizations to provide those supports, and the Winnipeg Police Service looking at providing supports for citizens for safety.
And if I can just provide some context as well, the reason for having this press conference and this retail theft initiative is that we're seeing an increase of repeat offenders, not necessarily on the poverty side. That we're seeing an increase. This is a problem within our city where we have people going in and to grocery stores and taking trays of meat and selling them. We have people coming into larger box stores and cart loads of whether it's tools or clothing items. We have cosmetics and that kind of stuff that we're seeing a real increase in. And as I mentioned earlier, they're not hiding it. When I was a kid, shoplifting would have been, take one item, stick it in your jacket, and hope that nobody saw you leave the store. Now we're seeing people walk in. They're not hiding it. Their intention is very clear. They're grabbing their items. They're walking out, and if any employees or people are even looking in their direction or wanting to stop them, now what we're seeing is an increase of, knives, box cutters, bear spray being pulled out. So these are people shoplifting to either sell on a social media site or for their own gain.
And now, can you tell me that how the arrests made in November compared to last month, the same time period last year? In terms of the stats, like whatever arrests were made in November, how are they compared to the ones made around the same time last year?
I think we shared the year-over-year stats, but we haven't provided the monthly stats. We'd have to get our public information officer to see if we could access those for you.
And just to be clear too, I forgot to mention is this isn't just the retail focused enforcement stats that are included in the 151 arrests. This is, as Superintendent Emerson had mentioned, this is layered. So this is focused enforcement, this is warrants, and then this is also driven by other investigations where these come up.
And who are the community partners, if you could name them, you're planning to work with the community partners and social safety net providers?
Okay, so that's a list this big, and it depends on what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
I can share with you that we do have, so restorative justice, as you're aware, restorative justice legislation, we work with mediation services, Initial Waywin, Salvation Army. We've had last year previous news conferences for our food inequity, or the year before, Age and Opportunity, Bear Clan, Mama Wichita Center, Indigenous Women's Healing Center. So when you're looking at government services for social safety net, schools, school educators, depending on, it's hard to come up with a one single roadmap when everybody's situation is different, and always open to looking at new opportunities. As these situations evolve, we're finding that people's behavior adapts. So as people's behavior adapts, our response and our partnerships need to stay fluid. So I always say that we are open to new partnerships and new opportunities, looking at the fact that we are not looking for more business. We're looking at increasing community safety and people's feeling of confidence.
What kind of comments have you received from business owners in response to this retail theft initiative?
I'd also like to invite Inspector Eric Luke. I feel like I'm leaving him out of this. He's the commander of Division 11, which is our shed. I can tell you right now that my communications with some of the retailers directly involved in the blitz that was driven from the property crime unit has been very encouraging. They're happy. You can understand that they're extremely frustrated by what's happening. Their concerns are for their employees' safety first and foremost, and their customer safety. And I think the biggest piece to this is now we're communicating together, the retailers and our service. And I think that's a big piece. Communication is always huge when it comes to working on stuff like this. But I'll invite Inspector Luke to speak.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. To further answer your question, a lot of our initiatives in the downtown are driven by the retailers and the citizens that live downtown. So that's why when Inspector McKinnon and Superintendent Emerson mentioned that reporting the crimes is of exponential importance. It's really important that retailers report the crimes through to us because as we stated, we're data driven. And as those statistics get gathered, it will drive our response to those particular initiatives. One thing I would say is that prior to November, our community support units, not only in Division 11 downtown, but across the city, have taken retail theft very seriously. And we've had a number of smaller projects, I would say, that are driven by the request of the retailers. They bring those concerns forward and say, we've had these concerns. And then we develop projects specifically tailored to that particular environment to help deter those particular thefts.
I remember back in 2019 when retail theft of liquor stores was a huge issue and I was almost solved like right to the number 0 by the installation of the vestibules that we all work with now. Is there any sort of solution that, has come to mind that we could say, we could maybe implement this at 80-90% of retail stores and this could really crack down on it? Or just because the retail landscape is so, vast and unique that it won't take that silver bullet, it's going to have to be something different?
It's pretty hard to say that there's one solution that will solve every retailer's problems. But something that we do as a service is our community support unit, along with community relations, will work with retailers and tailor programs and some suggestions that can help their individual store and their individual environment help reduce theft through crime, as an example, crime prevention through social design, designing their stores and the areas and lighting and all those different solutions to those particular problems. But they can be tailored specifically to those individuals. Downtown, there's a lot of small, let's say, mom and pop type stores, and our community support unit work directly with those retailers when they reach out to us to help provide solutions to their unique problems.
I think it'd probably be tough for some business owners because, they're losing money in these goods that are being stolen and, perhaps they lose employees who can't deal with the stress of this, but they also might not have the money to implement such a solution because, infrastructure change to their building costs a lot of money too.
Yeah, we're very sensitive to the fact that different retailers have different economic resources at their disposal. And that's why our community support units will, if we're reached out to along with community relations, will help speak to those smaller retailers. And something to mention too is we talk about the economic impact, but there's a huge human toll to this as well. Stress, as we mentioned, stress on employees, stress on citizens. And so if businesses are having issues or problems with their employees, feeling an extraordinary amount of stress when it comes to these particular situations, they can certainly reach out and we can help them work through those situations as well.
You touched on the idea of the crimes of desperation. It sounds like most of this initiative is being driven more by, I don't want to say organized crime, but I guess people who are repeat offenders. Is that a correct assessment of what we're doing here?
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
If the crime is committed to provide economic gain, and what we mean by that is what we said, which is driven by organized crime, or they're stealing vast amounts of items in order to resell, that's significantly different than, as Inspector McKinnon said, stealing hamburger to support your family or stealing food to support your family. And we do have a lot of, we implement some of the programs that Superintendent Emerson stated to help those families through those particular situations.
With last week's theft at the local store where there was a stabbing involved. So what are the measures retailers should take to increase their safety measures to prevent such kind of attacks? Because this is gone to another level. I mean, having violence related to retail theft. What is the police doing to combat that?
I'm not sure if I've got your question straight, so you can interrupt me if I got it wrong.
Yeah.
But, Superintendent.
What are the safety measures for,
Yeah.
especially to prevent these violence?
I think each business, as Eric Luke has mentioned, is going to have its own unique challenges, and just including the dynamic and location of the store. I think there needs to be some safety training for employees in the store, and whether that's with assistance of our community relations or even our officers through the community support unit and our property crime unit, matter of fact. Again, I'm going to go back to my messaging that if somebody is shoplifting as an employee, I wouldn't go hands on with them. I don't want to send that message out there to the people who are doing these crimes that's just going to make them easier to shoplift. But what I can say is we are putting attention towards this type of crime that's happening in our city. And that's why these focused enforcements, like you might walk out the store because the employee may not be going hands on you, and you might turn around and there's a couple of police officers waiting to take you into custody. So I think it's each individual store is going to have to look at safety training and what they can do within their store.
For this initiative, is there, on the police side of things, is there an undercover element at all?
So I was expecting questions in regards to the initiative, and I do apologize because I'm not going to give a little information, because if I give that information out, it might people might get smarter in how they're doing their crimes. I want the element of surprise on our side leading up to Christmas. So I apologize, I'm not going to disclose that information on how we're doing this.
Any more questions on the initiative itself?
I just have one question. It's going to sound like a strange one. Inspector Luke, can we get the spelling of your first and last name?
Sure, my first name is Eric, E-R-I-C, and my last name is Luke, L-U-K-E.
I got it right the first time.
Are you seeing, as a result of these similar factors that were cited, so shoplifting has gone up by a lot. Are you seeing other crimes going up as well as a result of these similar factors?
Well, shoplifting goes up, and then they transition into robberies when there's violence, right? So shoplifting, violence, and then that's when we get the injuries and those crimes. So that moves with that number, if that answers your question. Obviously, we talked about Superintendent Emerson spoke in regards to further criminal activity in regards to fencing this crime, and that's also something that we're going to be putting a focus on, but I don't want to provide any details to that just yet because we're still looking at that.
Right, and officers, I'm guessing, as part of this, do they take a look at these sites sometimes and see what's on there, if anything matches anything that was,
I can
especially if
tell,
it was a bigger ticket item?
I can tell you this, and to everyone who's watching this, we are looking and we are watching for this.
And in terms of the kind of retail stores, I know you've mentioned that you've been targeting downtown, Kildonan Crossing, and Polo Park retail stores. But what kind of retail stores have you seen an increased theft in? Like, have you seen, like, from your data, or is it like just food stores or locally owned stores or just big retail stores? Like,
It's, don't mean to interrupt you, I apologize. It's everywhere. It's not unique to big box stores. As Inspector Luke said, our small business community is suffering greatly from this. It has a huge impact on that. But it's when we're identifying these hot spots, it includes everybody who's within that area for retail business. So big stores, small stores, sporting stores, grocery stores, you name it, whatever in that area is included in this initiative.
Any more questions? Thank you for coming.